The head of the World Health Organization says the hunger crisis in Gaza remains, quote, catastrophic. Those comments come 2 weeks after a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas took effect. Israel is required to let aid flow into Gaza as part of the agreement. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in the region right now and calls it an ongoing process.
We're at the stage of just trying to maintain the ceasefire. We're trying to be at the stage of getting humanitarian assistance to flow. We're trying to get to the stage of ensuring that all the commitments made, including the hostages, are lived up to. We're still at that stage where we have to ensure that there are no threats against Israel emanating from Gaza, because there are still terrorists inside of Gaza.
Jeremy Konyndyk joins us now. He's the president of Refugees International and a former head of disaster assistance at USAID. Thank you so much for being here, Jeremy. In an op-ed for Foreign Affairs, you say the first phase of the agreement called for 600 aid trucks per day to enter the territory unimpeded, but that 2 weeks in, the deal has fallen well short of these goals. Why is that, and what's needed right now?
Well, what's happened over the first few weeks is that the government of Israel has pointed to several, what I would call excuses, frankly, for not allowing aid to flow in greater volume. They have pointed to a slower than they hoped for return of some of the deceased hostages by Hamas, although the International Committee of the Red Cross has said, look, that's just the way it is. This is going to take several weeks to do. They pointed to an incident where one of their bulldozers had an explosion. They claimed it was a Hamas explosion. Actually, it seems it hit an unexploded ordnance. Every time this happens, they point to that as a reason to slow roll the volume of aid getting in. And so the net effect of that is that most of the crossings remain closed, including the important Rafah closing with Egypt. And the number of trucks getting in per day is a fraction of the 600 per day that is the commitment under the deal.
If you write that if the deal's guarantors are unable to ensure aid delivery, it could lead to the collapse of the ceasefire itself. Can you expand on that?
Well, the fundamental arrangement, the kind of trade within this ceasefire, is aid for hostages. Now, as a humanitarian, I have a lot of problems with making humanitarian aid conditional. I think that's a really problematic path because people have a right to life-saving humanitarian aid under the Geneva Conventions. But nonetheless, that is the arrangement. And so, if ultimately one part of that bargain is not being upheld, then that could threaten the entire deal.
Who needs to be enforcing the delivery of aid into Gaza?
Well, I think the guarantors of the deal, so the countries that signed it, the United States first and foremost, but also the Gulf states, European states, need to be holding all sides' feet to the fire. And yes, that includes Hamas, of course, but it must also include the government of Israel. And if the government of Israel is not living up to their commitments, their side of the bargain, then U.S. pressure and pressure from other countries has to be applied to hold them to account and keep their feet to the fire.
Jeremy Konyndyk, thank you for your time.
Thank you.